just pull in here. There's about 6, 7 kids out there, little kids, and they're all out there waiting for you. You know, they're just, you look at them and all I see in them is future wrestlers, future cauliflower ears. You know? Actually, moms, you should keep their headgear on. Keep their mouthpiece in to make sure that they can smile and that their ears look pretty good, because they probably want to get married someday. But anyway, I want to, they got a thermometer. You know, this would be illegal in college wrestling right now. If it's over 75 degrees, we have to cancel practice. You believe that? We are losing grip of our sport, and that's kind of what I've been doing in the past few years. Even though I haven't, coached as much, I've been trying to keep my fingers in the sport enough to make sure that we in wrestling don't lose complete control, and it goes to people outside of our sport, and they make these decisions that, wow, I don't know if our sport's going to be a real good sport if we allow that to happen. I don't want to be somebody up here to lecture, but when I get a wrestling crowd, I think I need to take advantage of that particular situation, because we have to take a back seat to a few sports that are more largely followed and more in the media, more on the TV. But for those that are wrestling fans and want to see it be strong in the future, we can't just do nothing, and that's why we're here. We're here. We got an overflow crowd. The University Nationals had an overflow crowd. We have a great product. We want to make it better at all times. We've got to keep control of it. We don't want to get pushed around, and so we have to speak up. Even though most of you have already did your time, you really never want to lose track of what it is until you're gone. It's just, that's the way it is. And then when you're gone, you still got to oversee us. But at the same time, it's something that I have to preach about a little bit, because I'm not real happy right now with my alma mater. And for those that didn't follow me, I graduated from Iowa State University, and you can see where they dropped. As far as I'm concerned, they're down to 5 sports right now for men. 5 sports. You cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track. That's 3, so that puts them up to 7. But to me, that's track. I love the sport, but that's one sport. So they have 5 sports right now, and I'm concerned about it. They drop. Again, wrestling's my apple pie, but according to the United States of America, that's like dropping apple pie. You drop baseball, and so you have to look at and see what's going on a little bit, and you have to step up a little bit to the bat and see if you can get some things turned around, because otherwise they just keep going downhill, and certain people get in charge, and so on and so forth. And if you didn't read the newspaper, there was a article in the Ames Tribune that said, for those of you that are wrestling fans, you better be buying season football tickets. I took that personal. I mean, there's been a lot of great wrestlers, and they're maybe the greatest of all time. We'll have to wait and see. But he's on track, so you got to make sure that, you can do what you can do. Anyway, I speak a lot about America needs wrestling, and the reason why I do that is because America does need wrestling. It's kind of a catch-22, and I really say we don't really have to have it, but it's the only sport out there that actually exemplifies the basic traits of what America was built on. The Founding Fathers. The disciplines, we are the high bar, there's no doubt. And for those that have been in it, know that. And I'm a sports fan of all kinds. And certainly with 4 young ladies, I want opportunities for them as well. But there's certain things that our sport represents that you just can't take away, because if you take that away, you're kind of taking the high ceiling of the goals away out of your life. And when you start lowering your standards, then you start accepting less. And when you start accepting less, then we become a weaker person and a weaker country. It's just a matter of And there's opportunities that young people would never have. I mean, look at me. Look at the Brands brothers. You think they were going to be dunking the basketball? They would think they're going to be jumping up and blocking the, what do you call those, field goals? Yeah, one would throw the other up. That'd be about the only way they'd be able to get high enough to get that done. But we need to, and this is a great crowd, a lot of people, a lot of generations, and it's like preaching to the choir here. But it's still, you still have to remember, because it is real crucial. Maybe it has a lot to do with, maybe it has something to do with just right now, even the besides the high salaries, the opportunities. Maybe it has something to do with, money market. Who knows? And I see my money manager over here, Mark Sindlinger, used to wrestle for me. He was a two-time All-American for me. But I keep getting these things in the mail. I tell you, I don't know where the money's going. But I can see why some of the funds are kind of drying up. Everybody in America, I think, is drying up a little bit. Somebody's getting it. I think he's taking it and putting it in his pocket. But he claims he has no control of that. But anyway, he says, keep sending the money, it'll turn around. It better turn around. Just like this wrestling issue better turn around, as far as weight certification rules, as far as keeping opportunities there for young people. I'm for a lot of things, but I'm not for them at the expense of the sport that I love the most. So that's my bottom line. Anyway, let's get on with the show here. First of all, I want to thank, Russ Smith, where'd he go? I want to thank Russ Smith over there, because I believe, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I see where he's on the selection committee, and I believe he might be stepping down. Is that true? And they've asked me to step on this selection committee, and I don't know. Should I take it? He still has a lot of reins on a few people like Tom Peckham. Tom Peckham used to kick the tar out of me until I grew up. And he still would, but he would have to do it from behind. But he's an institution up here, and he's had it's kind of like them high levels, those high goals, and you had to kind of work your way through a few people to get tough, and that's just the way it should be. That's the way it should be. You should take on all challenges. I love this story about Chris Taylor tonight, because I got a few Chris Taylor stories myself. That's how we got Chris Taylor to go to Iowa State, because out in the middle of a cornfield, Chris was on his recruiting visit, and Tom was already graduated, but he was a guy that was still helping out in the club there. Chris looked at him and says, how tough are you guys? Peckham says, well, let's go take down. And you can see where Chris Taylor ended up, because he says, nobody puts me on my back. And he said that when he was looking up at him. So you can see why, tough old guys hanging around help sometimes. But anyway, let's get down to the real business here, because I know it's over 75 degrees, and I can't take this heat. But actually, I love it. But first of all, how do you introduce these two guys? I really don't know, because, they really don't want to be here. But, who cares whether they want to be here? They're very humble. You wouldn't know it sometimes in their actions, but yes, they are very humble. They like to win. And they like the action and the training and all the parts of it. But when it's done, they just want to get their work going. They don't want to stand on the stand. They don't want to come to these banquets. But, like I said, it's really not for them anyway. It's for all of us fans that like to get together and have a good time. So, You know, they'll have to bear with us. And anyway, I could talk about their careers forever and ever and ever. But like I said, their peace of mind really is only temporary. Right at that time when they had those victories. Because everything's concluded. They got that inside that makes the difference. That meaning inside. And because of that meaning inside, it stays there. It never goes away. It isn't about the awards. And it's not now about just the awards that they got as athletes. Now it's going on beyond that. It's going on to their people that they coach. And then when that accomplishment happens, it's about the next day. And it's about new accomplishments. And it's about that high bar and taking on those standards. And that's what makes great competitors. You just take on all odds. And you defy those odds. And then you win them. And then you go back and do it all over again. And that's what's good about people like them that are staying in the coaching profession, because they can keep that out there amongst the youngsters. Because it is a little tougher today to be able to be successful, to be able to get back up and be successful again. Sometimes we may raise our kids too easy. Maybe sometimes we may not give them all that meaning, and because of that, you have to have these type of people out there. But anyway, let's talk about their careers. They had good high school careers. I think they had 3 state championships. You know, if I'm wrong, correct me, between the two of them. Tom Brands, Terry Brands. I believe there was 3 high school state championships. Is that correct? Just want to make sure, because if it's not correct, they're behind me. They might start armbarring me. I've got a bad shoulder right now. Bad knee, bad hip, bad neck. But I feel great. So then they went on to their even better college career, with 7 times being, between the two, being an All-American. 5 national titles between the two. Is that right? 5? And then beyond college, between the two, 7 national freestyle championships. Numerous events overseas they were involved in, and won some big events. 3 world championships between the two. 3. And hopefully that some of you have been able to share some of these. I know a lot of you have been able to share the state championships and the national championships. Some of you have been able to share the freestyle national championships. And hopefully some of you have been able to see them. They won in Toronto. They won in Atlanta. Where else? But anyway, then they went on to the Olympic Games, and they have a gold medal and a bronze medal in the Olympic Games. Tom in '96, Terry in 2000. I know they have a lot of family here, and I'll let them, when they get their chance to come up here to speak, to introduce the family that's here. They know them better than I, and they could represent much better than myself. Besides wrestling and their families, which they love, they also love the outdoors, which I know there's a lot of people in this area that feel the same way. This is a lot of great country for the state of Iowa. In fact, on the way up here, when I was driving up, when I was a kid, folks always took me up here pheasant hunting, always in the Jericho area up here. And we saw pheasants all over when I was a kid. I don't know how many there are around here now, but I no more told the guy that had been here that came with me, I no more told him right when I was driving through that area, And there was a big old pheasant right in the road. I couldn't believe it. Just brought back so many memories. Because memories are very, very good in minis in this area for myself. They love the outdoors. They bought land in Montana. They love Alaska. They love the hunting and the wildlife that goes along with these areas. They love NASCAR. Now, I don't even know what that is. They love dogs. But I know they love coaching wins and winners more than anything. I believe they were born in Omaha, raised in Sheldon, Iowa. And by the way, now, I didn't know whether to say this or not, but I'm going to say it. I don't want it to come out wrong. Because I've had a couple episodes with Sheldon. Sheldon must be a funny town. I'm not sure. But, you know, I came to Sheldon and I spoke, and when I left I had two groups that kind of wrote me letters. One was pat me on the back and the other wasn't pat me on the back. So I wasn't really sure what was going on. I'm not used to that. I didn't really look into it that much. But I think that had they been Cresco, that some of those ones that didn't pat me on the back wouldn't have been there. And that the little things that had happened in their life that maybe made somebody mad here or there, it wouldn't have happened in Cresco. It was normal. I mean, look at Peckham. You got used to, you know, a guy maybe shooting out a street light or... Yeah, do you have street lights? And I don't know if they have any more or not, but I know they got caught for that in Sheldon, I think. But anyway, they never admitted it then, so they didn't get caught. But we knew who did it. But then Cresco would be a different story. That everybody would be patting them, and not everybody would be, you know, saying things. But anyway, they weren't. They were born in Omaha, raised in Sheldon. And the thing I like about it is now there's some great, you know, besides Cresco having some great wrestling fans, we also have some great wrestling fans in Sheldon, Iowa. Thanks to these guys right here. And of course their parents, and they can do all that and all that. Tom now lives in Iowa City, assistant coach at the University of Iowa. Terry now lives in Waverly, Nebraska. That's a little town outside of Lincoln, where he's assistant coach for the University of Nebraska. These two guys are the newest inductees into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame, located right here in wrestling country, Cresco, Iowa. And actually, do I have any stories about them? Yeah, I got lots of Peckham stories. I got lots of Brand stories. I even got Lee Johnson stories here. And I could talk about it. But you know, that's for you people to sit around the round table and have a good time and talk about. That's not for what we need to do right now. We need to honor these guys. We need to let the show go on. So I'd like to actually bring him up here, and we'll induct him and let him talk a little bit. I think we'll bring him up and make him stand at the same time together. Tom and Terry Brands, come on down. Which one came into the world first? And that will be the one that will talk first.
That's who it.
Tom's
5 minutes older.
Tom is 5 minutes older. Okay, we gave him a rousing welcome and congratulations. We'll get Tom up here, then we'll get Terry, and then we'll send him out. Tom Brands.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it very much. Anderson, you inspire me. I'll tell you why, because the book, Dan Gable, that Mike Chapman wrote, one of my favorite stories in there is about Jim Dushin and how he handled certain things in his competitive career. And he mentioned your name a lot. You had a lot to do with it. I studied those 2 or 3 pages a lot as a competitor, and especially later in my career when things started going a little bit haywire in 94 and 95 when I was not at the top of the world, and I was frankly miserable. And I say that and hear some chuckles, but you must know me pretty well because I am dead serious when I say that. But thank you. You are inspiring to me, and you don't even know that, probably. Appreciate it. I'm going to thank some people here, and you know, I'm not used to giving induction talks or speeches, but I may take my time, so if you got a problem with it, you can come up here and see if you can deal with me. I'm in pretty good shape yet. Matter of fact, I can make weight tomorrow. So that's my edge. I know I can make weight on a moment's notice. That's when I know I'm in shape. So anyway, first of all, Don Gooder, he's been great. Mike DeRoe is married to his daughter, Gay, and Mike DeRoe's had a big impact in my career and Terry's as well. Don, you inspire me too, more than you'll ever know. Funny story about Don. I was here the first time, I think it was 1990 or maybe 89, for the induction ceremonies, and talking about all the great wrestlers that are inducted here and all the great wrestlers in the state of Iowa. And it was Coach Siddons and myself and Don Gooder and a couple other people standing around. They were talking about Tom Peckham. And I said, Peckham now, wasn't he from Waterloo West? And Siddons was like looking at me funny, and Gooder was looking at me funny but kind of smiling. And I said, no, wasn't he from Waterloo West? And he said, you're kidding, right? And I said no, and when I said no, I was not kidding. He was going to tear my head off for not knowing that Tom Peckham was from Cresco. I'll tell you what, Coach Gable, he said you're capable, and I saw the gleam in your eye. I know you still got that killer instinct. And I tell you what, I know where Tom Peckham is from. Tom Peckham, you inspired me as well. I heard a lot of good, mean stories about you. I'll tell you what, you know, people that's a misunderstanding about the Brands boys. Mean, off the mat. You know, Jenny, she was, I'm not going to, you know, dwell on this too much, but she was a sorority down at University of Iowa. And her sisters were real concerned about her when she started dating me. And they were wondering, you know, when she was going to come to the house or whatever with black eyes and stuff, because I was just a maniac, brutal girlfriend beater. And I'll tell you what, that's all misconception. I am a very polite gentleman. But I'll tell you what I thrived on in competition is hearing stories like what Tom Peckham provided. Or another inductee from Fort Dodge. You know who I'm thinking about? Bill Cole. I like that story where he walks in, I think it's West Gym, and he shows people the crack in the floor that when he spiked a guy, he went through the mat and there was a crack in the floor. And you know that you wouldn't get by with that stuff today, but still it's an edge. I'll tell you what, that's what it's all about. Josh Burka's here, Cresco native. I just learned. I knew he was from up here somewhere. He's here. He does a great job for us at the University of Iowa, promotion, and Les Steenlich is one of the right-hand men. Good man. Ken Kling Schlegman, my spiritual coach, he's from Waterloo over here. Very, very, very beneficial to my sanity. I have a strong faith, and a lot of times, as Bill Rhodes will attest to, my emotions run away with me, and I have to keep those in check. And that's my spiritual coach. I appreciate it very much, Ken. And Linda, right? Is it Linda? Yeah, I met you, but I'm not good with names a lot of times, especially when I'm getting ready for a big match, and that's what I feel like right now, getting ready for a big match. Luke Moffitt is here. He's down at school, University of Iowa. You stand up, Luke. 41-pounder. Looking, you know, that's a weight class that we may need to fill depending on where Zadok goes, but you shouldn't have to worry about where Zadok goes, right? Gonna beat them all anyway, teammates or not teammates. Let's see, Ben Krieg. Stand up, Ben. Coach Gable talked. He rode with Coach Gable tonight. Ben Krieg is the guy who's on program. He's a video guy, and he was over at my house a couple weeks ago, and he's a pretty handy guy. He upgraded my Netscape from 4.5 to 6.0. Is that right? I have no idea what that means, but he did it. Good promotion, guy. A lot of big ideas. A lot of big ideas. Just need to find some way to fund those ideas. Bill Rhodes, Chuck Yegla, you guys inspire me too. For a lot of reasons. Just kidding. Thanks to the whole community here that gets this thing going. Scott Thompson, Russ Smith, Jerome Haruska, Crone, Gooder again. You know, all you guys, thanks a lot for having me. I am deeply honored to be here. And even though I am a little bit humble, I'm not going to act it right now because I got a suit and tie on and my hair looks good. I'm going to use this. Jim Miller, thanks. Great reputation as a coach, seen him work. Great to be associated with him. Mark and Matt Sindlinger, thanks. He was a senior. Mark was a senior when I was a freshman, and he beat me in a sprint lap once. I must have been really tired. I know I wasn't hungover because I don't drink. But he chewed my fanny for that. Do you remember that? He chewed my fanny. He said, "What are you doing letting me beat you? How can I beat you?" Tell you what, he had a target on his back. And I was behind him from that day on. I used to lap him after that. Boy, he doesn't know it, but I seethed. Doggone, how dare you say that to me. Thanks, though. You inspired me, too. Gable stories. Gable, obviously, he's had a lot to do with my career. He's been outstanding, even now, and it goes more than just the coaching profession and the performance profession. It goes into the profession of life, dealing with hard knocks and going on, and you know we could talk about that, but I'm not going to get into that because you all know what impact he has on his athletes. And I don't really need to talk about that except for thank you, Coach Gable. You've been very inspiring, but I want to tell two stories. One was, I was a freshman. Terry was a freshman. And you may have heard this before. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. Gable's sitting there. He's putting his shoes on. He's getting ready for practice. And Terry Brands walks up to him, and I'm sitting by him, or I don't know, looking at him or whatever. And Terry says, "What's that red spot in your forehead?" Gable looks at him funny. "What's that red spot in your forehead?" He hits him. So now there's a red spot in his forehead. Gable didn't say one word. 2 weeks later, Terry does the same thing, walks up to him. "Hey, yo, what's that red spot in your forehead?" Gable just looks at him. He doesn't say anything. Like, flinch or looks at him. Terry says, "What's that red?" Hit him again. And Terry goes, "Ha, ha, ha. I can't believe that you fell for that twice." And Gable said, "I didn't. I just didn't think you were stupid enough to do it twice." Motivational to me, had a big impact in my career, and it happened to me once before when I was in high school. But we had this box in our room, and if you got out of line, used bad language, threw headgear, in excess or anything like that. You had to sit in this box. It was a penalty box, like hockey, only it was in the room. And if your conduct got away from you, you had to go sit up in the box, and he was the ultimate authority. The buck stops here, no questions asked. When you have to be in the box, you have to be in the box. Well, I'll tell you what, I was running off of the mound. It happened to me once when I was in high school, too. I got kicked out of practice in high school once. And tell you what, it just drove me. But this particular time I was put in the box, most of the time it was seemed like 5 or 10 minutes, probably only 30 seconds or a minute, just to calm me down a little bit. But I just would not shut up. My mouth was going. I was frustrated. I was mad at the world because a guy was getting the best of me, maybe in the practice room, and I was going crazy. And he said, "Brand, you better settle down." And I was like, I'm not gonna say what I said, but they started with an F here, maybe Klingman. Sorry, Klingman. And I'll tell you what, it just got, F this, and F you, and F this. Not proud of that, but he said, "Brands, get out of here." And I said, "Fine, I'm out of here." But I'll tell you what, that crushed me. That crushed me. I walked out of that practice room, and I'll tell you what, I got more out of that day from exhaustion, pushing myself point of view, even though it wasn't on the mat, but for 2 reasons. One, I was madder than heck at him, just because he kicked me out of practice. I'll tell you what, but it did wonders for me. The second reason, the most important reason, is because I could not believe that I allowed myself to get kicked out of the practice room in a sport that meant the universe to me, the world to me. I could not believe that I let myself do that. I got kicked out of my element. And I remember I went upstairs and I ran stairs. I ran 2 stair laps. You guys been in cargo archery? That's a lie. That's a lie. And I went, when everybody was gone, I was still there. And I went downstairs, I stuck my head in the door, and there were still people there. Probably an hour and a half later, waited until everybody was gone, and I went in there and I busted out a lift like I never had before. And not many people know that. And I don't think Coach Gable knows that, but I'll tell you what. He inspired me because he knew which buttons to push. That's what it's all about as a coach. It's knowing which buttons to push and getting guys to do things that, hey, that they know they can do and they believe they can do and they have their goal sets, but maybe there's a wall there. Maybe there's a wall there, the barrier there, and hey, you got to break that barrier down. And that's what he could do. And he broke a barrier down in me. And I'm not saying that my conduct got better, but I did know when to curtail it quicker. Anyway, talk about Frank Gotch, his work ethic, blue collar, small town Iowa, huge, huge. Frank Gotch, you motivated more than you'll ever know. You motivated me because you were on top of the world when people doubted you. Nobody from Humboldt, Iowa could do that. Nobody in Humboldt, Iowa could stand at the top of the wrestling world and beat the very best. And he did it. He did it. You know what? I bet you, I never knew him, but I bet you that he had unbelievable, just in-your-face attitude. You said I couldn't do it. You know what, you. And that's another thing that drives me. People like that. People that have defied all odds that Coach Gable was talking about. And I certainly was no Frank Gotch. And I certainly wasn't a John Smith or Dan Gable undefeated world championship. John Smith 6 for 6, Gable 2 for 2. I was 2 for 4. Measly 2 for 4. But I took something from these guys, carried me onward. And I reached the top because of something that the history of Iowa wrestling has all had. It's an ingredient in all of us. An ingredient in Yegla. Olympic team in 1980. That's a doggone shame. He never got a chance to represent his country because of politics. Unbelievable. I remember that. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in 5th grade. Could not believe it. Could not believe it. Talk about some workout partners I had. Barry Davis, Tom Ryan, great workout partners. Nowadays it's Joe Williams. He's probably the toughest guy in wrestling nowadays. He's pretty tough. Reason why I'm going through this is human interest. A lot of times people ask you these questions. I'm going to break this microphone. Most memorable matches. This is great for me. This is great. I love talking about my most memorable matches. My favorite matches. Schultz-Varayev. Anybody remember that match? 1987 World Championship Finals. Schultz gets taken down 1-0. Front headlocks him through 2-1 Schultz. 40 seconds to go. Varayev's in on a single leg, and he's going around and around to finish. Unbelievable scramble. Unbelievable scramble. He sucks it up, and he gets a takedown. You know what? As much as Schultz was my hero, I hate to admit it, but I think Varayev broke him. I think he broke him in that match. Outstanding example of getting in on a leg and not worrying about the perfect technical finish, but just brawling to the finish, putting the guy down on the mat, scoring your point, put it into overtime. Schultz took an ill-advised shot, a little bit of a scramble, whoop. Varayev went around and beat him 3-2 in overtime. One of my favorite matches all the time. Just watched it the other day getting ready for this talk just to make sure I had my facts straight. But one match that my brother and I looked at a lot. Memorable matches. Royce Alger, saw it on tape. 1990 World Finals against Joseph Loina. He's ahead 2-0, gets taken down, put down, and turned and loses 3-2 in the last minute of the match. Killed me. Killed me. Doggone killed me. Memorable matches. Obviously, 94, 95 in the World Championships for myself, but, you know, Terry Brand's 1996 Olympic trials. And he'll probably have nightmares now I'm bringing it up, but I don't have to remind him of that, I'm sure, but that's an unbelievable tough loss. Really, really puts things in perspective. Terry once said, I read in an article one time when we were interviewed together, my life means little without winning. That's a pretty powerful statement. Without winning, my life means little. Pretty powerful. And you know what? You think that's demented? I'm going to tell you why it's not demented. Because that's what's missing. Coach Gable talked about it. That's what's missing in our society today. Do you know that there's teachers and educators out there that want to give the same colored ribbon for excellency? Do you know that there's teachers and educators out there that want to give the same color medal? That's socialism. That's not this country. Americans love a fight. They love a fight. They love the champion. Who want to have all the same doggone colored ribbon just because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings? We love a fight. I love to fight. My life means little without winning, and today that's the same. I drive myself. I drive myself as a coach along with Coach Zaleski. And you know what? We got a challenge in front of us. We got Mako. Ooh. Number one, his name's not even on the line. Can't talk about him, but I am. Don't tell Bowlesby. Number two, who knows? We got to develop our other guys, too. Moffitt, Eustace, Moore. That's a challenge, and we're up for it. We're up for it. Because my life means little without winning. Because my life is winning, my life is perfection, my life is wrestling. And in life, in school, in family. Another memorable match, and if I could go anywhere in time, I'd go here. I would go and watch Jacob wrestle the angel of the Lord, which some say was the Lord himself. Two reasons. I want to see how powerful God is. I want to see when he just, boom, touched that hip, and that hip went out of socket. Oh, that was the match. He was done. He was done. I want to see that. I want to see the power of the Lord firsthand. And I feel it, but I want to see it. And I'm a believer, but I want to see it. Just don't do it to my hip. Second reason, I want to go back there because I want to see what made Jacob tick. That is one tough son of a gun. The Bible says he wrestled till daybreak. Started when it got dark. He felt a presence fly down to him. He wrestled until daybreak. He wrestled with an angel of the Lord till daybreak. Matches are 7 minutes long in college these days. He wrestled till daybreak. I want to know what makes that guy tick. So we get them full sauces to... And I'll tell you what, his hip was out of joint. What'd he do, though? Anybody know the story? He hung on. He hung out of the waist, and the Lord said, I got to go. Daybreak's coming. I got to go. And he said, I'm not letting go until you bless me. I'm a stubborn fool for thinking I'm better than you or whatever. Humble me, whatever you got to do, but you got to bless me, and I'm not letting go until you do. It was done. By his faith and the grace of God, it was done. I would love to see that match. Another tough loss is the Sana rule, and Gable talked about it. 97 or 98, whatever it was, took the sauna away from us. Sauna is a training tool. It has nothing to do with blatant and misuse of weight cutting. You know, they put all this new weight certification rules into effect and took the sauna away. That's an edge. That's an edge. That's a tough loss. I'm going to wrap this up here. I'd like to thank my in-laws, Don and Jane Middlestat, my wife's parents. I'd like to thank Rich Morgan, who came down from Sheldon, Iowa. Paula, thank you. Appreciate it. I'd like to thank Jim Bothmer and the Bothmer family. They're watching Terry's kids. Thank you, Jim. You're very therapeutic. You listen. You let me vent. Appreciate it. I'd like to thank my wife, Jennifer, best, most passionate wrestling fan I ever met in my life. And that's the truth. She hates Jared Freyer right now. Jared Freyer beat Mike Zadig in the national quarterfinals this year. She hates him. She's never met him. He never spit on her. She hates him. When Joel Sherritt got beat in the finals in '95, who was the guy from Oklahoma State? McGrew. She went out of her way, leaned over the rail, said, "McGrew, you're a stalling piece of S." I'm not proud of that. She's not proud of that. But I like it. Whether they wrestle or not, they're going to be tough. They're tough kids. Thanks, Jen. You're great. I love you more than you'll ever know. You put up with a lot. I'd like to thank my mother. She's been the ultimate driving force. She's been the engine. These two guys, I was talking to, I was in Delaware speaking just the other week, a couple weeks ago, and this lady was bragging on and on about how she raised a wrestler and, you know, and how tough it was and this and that. And I said, "Yeah. Did you raise two at one time?" She looked at me kind of funny and I said, "I got a twin brother. My mom raised two at one time. And my parents were divorced when I was 12. That's two at one time by herself. Pretty tough lady. Mom, I love you more than you'll ever know. You mean more to me than you'll ever know." Thanks, Brad. He's my consultant. I don't pay the $250 an hour he charges. Terry Brands, inspiration. He's cracked me upside the head, boy. He has cracked me upside the head when I needed it most. No one else would do it. Everybody else was cowardly. He set me straight, because that's what brothers do. That's what brothers do. I saw firsthand what I felt. That's an advantage. I felt an unbelievable, intense desire to be the very best. I felt that. The advantage was my teammates didn't have it. My teammates in college didn't even have it, for the most part. Some of them did. A little bit. I can think of maybe 2 or 3 over the 15 years I've been at Iowa. But he had it, and you know what? I saw it firsthand. I was raised with it side by side. And the fire and the passion that goes hand in hand with being great at what you do, no matter what it is, and you feel that, and you can see it, that's unbelievable. We used to wrestle, and I don't know if he's going to tell the story or not, but we used to wrestle international matches in our basement. Now, I'm not talking about just one match. I'm talking about international duels. In one setting, we'd have the clock going. I think we made them 10-minute or 12-minute matches to take up for breaks, and if you had to pick the splinters out of your teeth or whatever, the first aid, the quick Band-Aid on the cut or whatever. But when that buzzer went off, we went at it 105.5, boom, and we kept score. And he was the Russians, and I was the Americans. And I'd like to say that the guy who won the time before was always the Americans. So I was always the Americans. I'd be a liar if I said that, though. I don't say this to boast, but I know what makes the Brands tick. I'm a leader of young men. I take pride in knowing that they feel good about where they're going, about where they're headed. Moffitt, feel pride in knowing that you want to be a national champion 2 times. I feel great pride in that. You want a job done right, send me in. I'll do it. Whether it's fundraising, doesn't matter, promotion, training guys to be the best, let me engage them. Let them look into my eyes and see the fire and the passion. Let them know what winning is all about. Winning in life and sport and school and family. Let them know. Let them look at me. Wrestling's been great to me. The celebration tonight is about my competitive career. I've learned a great deal in this sport as a competitor, but I'm driven to be a great coach. I'm driven to lead a revolution in the way wrestling is coached. I want to make the young athletes that I come in contact with great ambassadors for this great sport. You guys are great. I'm humbled to be here. Everybody, thank you. If I missed anybody, don't take it personal. I'll see you later for autographs and pictures. Thank you very much.
Put me in, Coach. How do you follow that? We're gonna try. You ready, Terry? Terry Brands.
Appreciate it. Once again, same as my brother said, I do appreciate it more than most people would know. You know, I'm very humble, like Gable said, and I don't like standing on the top of the award stand and receiving these honors. It's a very difficult thing for me to do, but I am learning that it is something that needs to be done. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. It's been a fairly good ride for me as a competitor. There's been some unbelievable valleys. Nelson, hush. It's I really don't even know where to start or where to end, because I got so many pent up emotions and mixed feelings throughout my competitive career as an athlete, and you know, he brings up the '96 stuff and how I treated this woman sitting to my right before we were married. You know, I left for Alaska. Hell, I was going to disappear for 3 months. You know, I was gone. I was going to stay up there and wrestle moose with Lenny. It was going to be me and Lenny. I was going to try to get him to, you know, quit his job and maybe leave his family for a couple of years and we go figure out life or something. But, man, I left and I said, find another, you know. I'm done with you, you know. There's nothing I can do. I mean, my whole world dropped out from underneath me. You know, and he won the gold, and I was very happy, but I was jealous as hell. And I don't know if you guys ever felt like that, but it's tough, and 5 years later, those emotions still run very bitter. And good thing about it is it kept me around for another 5 years. There's probably, oh boy, no way 2000 was going to happen if I would have went on and win the gold in '96. Of course, I probably would have stopped wrestling like my brother did, you know. And I never learned how to back off. Gable would come into practice and say, "Okay, you're going to go another 4. You got to back off. You got to back off." I didn't know what back off meant. Show me. You know, you're the teacher. Show me how. You know, back off words. What's that mean? You know, and I never, ever, ever figured it out. I pushed myself and brought hell on my family and my friends and my brother and his wife, and not knowing how to compete as an older person. And this isn't even written down, but he got me going on this. So, but these are the things that drive myself, and maybe a little bit of what drove him in '94 and '95. It's just an indescribable feeling of being able to represent your country in the Olympics and getting a shot to go for the yellow medal. And, you know, had huge differences with Gable, had huge differences with Mike Duro, who was my lifeline in wrestling. Had a fallout. You know, I probably did something I should have done, but I made the choice. And I thank God that Coach Gable and Coach Duro and I, myself, actually, they came around and I came to my senses and all that was forgiven, and I had a shot to go on and be standing up here at least with a little bit of a medal. I know it's not what I wanted, and I know it's what my mom, she's proud, and my family's proud, and they're all over there to see it. And my wife, you know, she had I saw a picture of her holding the bronze medal with a big smile on her face, and whew, man, no way, not me. And I know they're proud of me, but it's not what you came to do. And very, very difficult for me to come home with that. I don't even know if I'm making any sense right now, but it's just an unbelievable honor that I get to be in the same class that he was. You know, for this selection with Zaleski and Yagla and Jim Miller and Gable and Tom Peckham and Bob Siddons, tough. Man, I'll never forget those people. And you know, I'm not going to expand on it because Tom touched on it pretty detailed about what those people meant to him. And I probably read the book first and then passed on the knowledge. Unbelievable, you know, the tough stories about you, Tom. I mean, you probably, I don't know if I've ever met you before, but it just is unbelievable. Cresco, Iowa. When I think of Cresco, Iowa, I think of wrestling. Ever since I was a sophomore in high school, knowing that this was up here, and it's just been an unbelievable ride to this point, but not satisfactory to my standards by any stretch of the imagination. I just want to do a quick thank you to my mother. She's been unbelievable. Like Tom said, she was the engine that drove the two of us. She put up with an unbelievable amount of stress. Her hair's still red, so it's not gray, so we must not have been that hard on her. But at the same time, I know what it's like to be a single parent. My wife went shopping once and left me at the kids for 2 hours. I'm sure he knows what he's meant to me. He took a hold of us by the ear when we were freshmen in college and put up with a lot. And Coach Zaleski, an unbelievable idol, him and Barry Davis, 6 national titles between them at the University of Iowa. You know, when I was in high school and junior high, I remember seeing those guys and reading about them and wanting to be like that, wanting to go wrestle for Coach Gable and what he's meant to me. And, you know, the bittersweet feelings that I've had with him, and I'm sure he's had with me, but you know, it's made me a stronger person. It's made me love him even more. He stood his ground, I stood my ground, and you know what? Maybe he was right. Maybe I was right. I don't know. Nobody will ever know. But the bottom line is that love that love as competitors has been restored. And, you know, it's made me a better person. I don't know if he's still losing sleep. He always told me after that, I see red when I see you. I'd say right back, I see red when I see you. It's made me a better person. It's helped me deal with adversity unbelievably. Thanks to Bob Hauser, all the way from Lincoln, Nebraska, one of the greatest supporters I've ever been around. I've only been around the program for 8 months, but he is unreal. Bob, why don't you stand up? Right here. We slept in the same room together for 4 nights in Chicago, and he was, you know, he was my gopher, man. I felt bad having a 2-generation old man ahead of me being my gopher man, but I didn't have a choice. We didn't have any spirit leaders or anybody there, so he did a great job for me, and the support that he gives to Nebraska wrestling is unsurpassed. Thanks to Mark Manning. He's here somewhere. He was sitting at the end of the table. You don't have to stand up, I guess. They don't know what you look like. He gave me an opportunity to look beyond the Iowa program. I didn't want to leave. You know, Jimmy and I had a discussion, and you know, maybe it wasn't the right choice, but maybe it was. It's again one of those things. It's the right choice now because the decision was made, and I'm glad I went. And you know, my heart bled black and gold when they lost that deal in Minnesota this year. But I'm a Husker right now. I'm being paid by them, and I thank the good Lord for Mark Manning. Actually, I think I called him. But anyway, thanks for letting him come on board. But and Steve Hamilton, another Northwest Iowa boy, a colleague of mine, unbelievable work partner with me. And my family, Jim, Leah, my aunt and uncle Mike and Bobby Malloy from Estes Park, Colorado. They followed me to Sydney, and well, I won't say it, but watched me fall on my face. And my wife, man alive, I just, you know, Tom talks about Jenny and passion that she has, but she has stood. Hey, honey, should I compete? Do you want to compete? Yeah, I want to compete. Well, I think you should compete. I don't think I'm going to compete anymore. You know, I'm not feeling real good. I'm starting to get those feelings back. And well, then don't compete. She was supportive regardless of what I wanted to do, regardless of what she felt, her self-feelings, never had any part of it. She was always for me. And there aren't very many men that can stand up here and say that about their wives. And I have, you know, the good fortune of being able to be loved by a woman that's 5 years younger than me, and unbelievably supportive. Unbelievably supportive. She will never know. I mean, I'm like my brother. I run off at the mouth sometimes. He's talking about, you know, at time with Gable. I mean, I do that with my wife sometimes. She's just, you know, and you know, you can't do that when you're married. You know, that's what I've been told. So, but she puts up with it. She put up with that story I was telling about when I went to Alaska. You know, I'm find another. I'm done. You know, and she waited. She waited a month, and you know, I can't thank him enough. With that, I think I will call it. My father, he's not here. He's working. He says he couldn't get off work. I don't believe that. He's sometimes a horse's rear end about things like this. But he has been an unbelievable inspiration to my brother and I. And he told us that if you have one toe on the mat, kick the hell out of him. You know, and then that was the philosophy that we took all the way through. And with my mom's sense and my dad's incense, we got there in a fairly decent way. So, again, Tom, I don't think I've ever thanked him publicly, but you know what? Just what he said about the combination of us being able to be together and see him. You know, when he got beat at the Midlands, he got pinned his senior year, and by Alan Freed, I think it was, and seeing that drive, you know, seeing him lose in the Big Tens. And then coming back and winning it as a sophomore after I won it my first title as a sophomore, and just little things like that you might not think makes a difference. Just being able to be around that. You know, I never used to think it was an advantage. You know, you look at this guy and he didn't have a twin brother or even another brother, you know, to drive him. But you know, I always thought, well, I could do it without him if he wasn't here. But maybe that was my stubbornness getting the best of me. And thanks to him, he's been an unbelievable riding partner, if you will. And I'll leave it with this as I can do all things through Christ which strengthened me. Philippians 4:13. I live my life by that for 17 or 18 years now, and the good Lord has never steered me wrong. He's kicked me in the rear end sometimes, and when I needed it. And you know, when I think I'm a dirt clod and I'm really a speck of dust, he's let me know it. And without him, I would not exist. And without you people, this great sport wouldn't exist. So you need to dive in and do the things that Coach Gable and my brother were talking about, and make this grassroots even stronger, and then let it spread. And again, I can't say thanks enough to the selection committee for even considering us, especially at our young age, the big 3-3 today. Thank you very much.